Hey guys, I'm Phoenix Gray, and this is my author series. In these videos, I'm going to try to teach you everything I've learned in the past 7 years of self-publishing. I've written in multiple genres, but I'm going to try to make this information more LitRPG specific. If it applies to multiple genres, I'm going to try to disclose that. I want to be very transparent with everything I share. I don't know everything is one of the first things I want to say, and if there is something that I don't know or I'm not sure about, I'm not going to bullshit you on it. So let me go ahead and tell you where I began. So in August 2012, I published my first book under my real name. It was a horror book because at the time I wanted to write horror. So going back a little before that, I actually wrote my first full-length novel when I was 12 years old. It was kind of like an autobiography. They say your first million words are crap, and yeah, I would say that's pretty true. But luckily, I got mine in before I actually started self-publishing. After that, I wrote an 800-page epic fantasy, which I did send off to, I want to say, about 20 publishers to be published. It almost got picked up by one, but it ultimately got rejected. And that is actually how The Realm Between was born, because the Realm Between is based off of that epic fantasy. So moving on, I didn't actually publish until August of 2012. I had known about self-publishing before that, but I didn't really think that people were making money off of it. I didn't really think there was a way to make money off of it. And so I just never really bothered with it at the time. I was a software testing engineer for one of the major banks. So I wrote and published a horror novel under my real name, and it didn't make any money at all. So then I was just kind of like, oh, well, you know, this probably isn't going to work for me. But I still loved writing, so I wrote a horror game-lit novel, and I published that. That also didn't do well. And then I was I started getting on writing forums, and I'm thinking, okay, well, it's something that I'm doing wrong. So I got on writing forums to see how I could get these books to sell. And I pretty much found that the genres I was writing in were just dead. And that's one thing, if there's no interest in what you're writing, you could be writing about, you know, how to repair rice cookers, but if nobody is reading it, you're not going to sell it. And horror just generally is a hard sell. It was back then, it still is today. So kudos to those who do write horror that have made it, because it's really hard to do it as an indie. But anyway, I had read a lot of people were publishing erotica at the time, and I've always had a little bit of a perverted side, so I thought it would be fun to write. So I started writing erotica, and I was writing short stories, and I was still working full-time, so basically I would work a full day, I'd get off from work, and then I would pop out a story in literally the span of a night. My stories were about 5,000 words long, which is nothing. Anywhere between, yeah, about 4,000, 5,000 words long. And in the span of 3 months, I was making enough money to quit my day job. So I was very prolific with it. I published probably 5 books a week, anywhere between 4 and 5 books a week. I mean, I would write a book, and then I would self-edit it, and then I would put together a shitty cover with Photoshop, and then that was it. I'd publish it, and I would make money. So not too long after that, I was making a lot of money. Enough money that I shared my expertise with the author community, and I even wrote a book on self-publishing, and that made me an insane amount of money. At the time, I made like 10 grand in 1 week just from that book. So if you wonder why so many authors turn gurus, that's why, because it's a lot easier to make money selling to authors than it is being an author, which sounds horrible, but I will be getting into that in a future video about gurus that you can trust and gurus that you can't. I by no means claim to be a guru. This information is always going to be free. I mean, I did the sell my secrets thing. I'm not selling them anymore. I really just want to help people. So anyway, after that, I did really, really well. I did so well that I went to a tax accountant, and to kind of like get an idea of what my taxes were going to be for that year, so I saved back enough. And I overshot what my estimate that I was going to make was by like $20,000. I think I ended up making about $70,000 my first year, and that was my profit. So I kept writing that erotica for a while, and then I found out that that romance was doing really well, and that I could probably make more money writing romance. So I think also at the time erotica was slowing down a little bit. So I switched over and I started writing romance. And again, I was writing things that were really short. But when I first started, people were paying $2.99 for 5,000 words. But as time progressed, readers were not, everybody was getting competitive with their pricing, so authors were dropping their pricing down, and so people had to write longer books to still be able to charge $2.99. So I was still serializing when I switched to romance, but I was writing longer books. So I switched to romance, and things just exploded for me. I did really well. So in April of 2015, I made $36,330.12 in profit. I mean, it was just, it was amazing. I think at that point, KU had just started where they were paying like $1.35 for a read. So they weren't doing page reads back then. They were paying per book. And yeah, so the money was just flowing really good. That same year, I made over $200,000 in profit. It was a really incredible year for me. I got, after that, I got scouted for Kindle Worlds. Kindle Worlds got a hold of me to write for them. And then when Kindle Scout came out, I also wrote for them. I've done interviews with the Huffington Post. I've been on the USA Today bestseller list. I have had one of my books advertised in a national magazine. And let's see, what else? The Realm Between is currently enrolled in Amazon Prime Reading. I have been traditionally published. I have published over 100 books in the 7 years that I've been self-publishing. I have over 100 audiobooks. I have over 100 foreign translations right now, and I believe it's 6 or 7 different languages, which is pretty cool. So I did build up my empire, and then it came crashing down because I did something careless. But before that, when things were really great, I had bought the fancy sports car, paid off 2 cars, bought a house, paid off that house, bought another house, and then Amazon banned me from KU because I was cycling books in and out from Wides to KU, and I missed a few retailers. And I think it's about 3rd time's the charm. Of course, it was an accident every single time. It's when you have as many books as I had, it's kind of hard to like keep track of it all. But yeah, the 3rd time they kicked me out of KU. So I was completely wide for a year. It decimated my income. I mean, it was just like, it was pretty devastating. I mean, going from making like a good mid 5 figures a month down to making like mid 4 figures a month. So it was pretty bad. And then through that year, a lot of things changed with KU. They switched to the, I believe they switched to the page where they paid for pages. So when I was able to get back into KU, my business model just did not fit with being profitable anymore, because I serialized, I wrote short books, and with the per page read system, it just doesn't work for short serialized books. I can think of one serialized LitRPG author that does really well, but I honestly can't think of any others. KU is very much the longer your book is, and of course the better it is. If it sells well, it's best to have a long book because you're going to get paid more for it. But I made a lot of mistakes. Definitely made a lot of mistakes with my main pen name. It would sound like I didn't, because I got all these amazing opportunities. But I really did mess up in a lot of ways. I wrote short books, which when KU converted over to being per page read, did not do me any favors at all, because yeah, you don't make money on short books. I also wrote mostly standalones, which also does not do you any favors, no matter what genre you are in. The people who can make a full-time living writing standalones long-term are very, very few and far between. and like I said, that goes for any genre that you write in. That's something I'll cover more in the future too. But but yeah, so then on top of that, with my I wrote kind of all over the place too, so I never had a passion for romance. Like, I don't watch romance movies, I don't read romance novels for pleasure. I get why some people enjoy the genre, but I never really enjoyed it for me. I just wrote it for money, and it was really, really easy to do for me, to figure out what was selling and just kind of follow the trends, which a lot of people will say is a good thing to do, but you also don't want to muddy up your brand. So you want to be known for writing one kind of book, because otherwise your readers will get confused, or you won't be able to maintain readers. And to this day, I still publish kind of like a bunch of different subgenres on that pen name. I only have 2 more books that I'm planning to publish on it, and then I'm not gonna. I'm still going to promote those books, because there's a lot of money just lying there that I'm not really taking advantage of if I don't promote them. But I don't plan on writing in the genre anymore. It's not something I ever enjoyed. So that is also something that made it difficult for me to write long books and series, because I just can't force myself to make this. And I'm going to say it, this ridiculous romance. You know, these ridiculous romances go on and on and on. It just, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't even wrap my head around how to do it. So I kind of shot myself in the foot, in a sense, by going into a genre that I didn't have the imaginative reach to make into a long series, which a lot of the most successful romance authors are the ones that have survived all the bad things in the genre, are those who have written really long series. But anyway, so also another thing that happened in the time that I was gone before I came back is a bunch of internet marketers came into the genre, and they were doing a bunch of unscrupulous things, and they were mass producing titles, and there's an economic balance in the ebook marketplace. You're going to hear people tell you that, oh, there's like so many readers, you never have to worry about it. You know, it doesn't matter if like 1 million authors, you know, are dropping a book a day, but that's bullshit. There is a thing called supply and demand. This is simple economics, and when supply outweighs demand, nobody makes money. So, or he who has the most money to advertise makes money, and even eventually that doesn't work, because people are trying to outspend each other to get all the reads until their profits die. So these people pretty much collapse the market on the romance market. So I saw a lot of good authors, people that I consider actual authors, that wrote their own books, that marketed their own books, that had a passion. This is what they wanted to do. They loved romance. I saw a lot of them go under. I saw authors that had hit the New York Times bestseller list that were making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year go to the point where they had to get day jobs. It was really bad, and I was hanging in there pretty okay. But things were dwindling as well, and I mean, I saw that the light at the end of the tunnel was definitely fading, and I was like, you know what, I'm tired of writing stuff that I don't like. You know, I hate romance, I hate writing it, I hate what I have to deal with in this genre, I hate the bad elements that have moved in. So if I can't write what I want and make a living, then I'm just not gonna do it for, you know, for my career anymore. I'll go get a job, because at this point I have enough business experience that I should be able to get a really, really good job. But still, writing has always been what I've wanted to do, so it was kind of a sad thing that I might have to give it up. So one of my friends, he had suggested writing LitRPG to me a really long time ago, and I picked up Travis Bagwell's Awaken Online, and I read it, and no offense to Mr. Bagwell, I know that a lot of people love the series, but I just couldn't make it through the first book. So I put it away, and I didn't think about it for a while, and I continued writing romance. You know, just kind of trying to like keep things going until I couldn't keep them going anymore. And then I ran across Auron Kong's The Land, and I picked that up, and I read that, and I just fell in love with it. I thought it was like the best thing I'd read in a while, and I was like, I can do. It's fantasy and it's video games, and I love fantasy and I love video games. I read fantasy for pleasure. I read other people's LitRPG for pleasure. Now, before I didn't really know the genre very well, but I do greatly enjoy it. Fantasy is definitely, fantasy and horror are probably my two favorite genres out of everything. So yeah, then I started writing The Realm Between. I went into it with my whole marketing plan was the same plan that I used for romance, and I learned very quickly that that things don't work the same way because it's a completely different demographic, which I will also get to into later on. But anyway, when I wrote it, I was like, I'm gonna put this book out and then see what happens, and if it busts, that's it. That's gonna be it for me, and I'm just gonna go get a day job. Well, the book did really, really well, like really, really well. So I was able to keep writing it. And the first book came out October 10th of last year, and it's made $22,810.87. That is just for the ebook and the paperback version. That's not audiobook sales, which I didn't compile the data on before I made this video. The series so far this year has made just under $50,000, which is really good for I feel like a series being out for 1 year, especially since I didn't have a humongous marketing budget. I would say my marketing budget was bigger than a new author, but it wasn't like what I would have went like what I would have spent if I was like at the height of what I could spend. But it's gearing up, and the series is gearing up, and I'm slowly able to spend more, and I'm planning on making this into an empire. So I've got lots of plans for the series. This particular series is going to be 12 books long. There's going to be 2 spin-off series, and I have plans for other merchandising and stuff like that in between that. So it's super exciting, but that's other things that I'm going to get to. Anyway, I also wanted to talk about what you can expect from watching these videos. So like I said, I'm going to cover everything I've learned in the past 7 years. I think I've got like over 20 topics that I want to cover. If there's anything specific you want me to cover, go ahead and post it in the comments, and I will try to get to it or put it on my list if it's not already on my list. I am not going to promise to post at any regular frequency. As I mentioned before, everything I post is always going to be free. I'm doing this in my spare time, with which I honestly do not have much. So if you are part of my my Facebook group, LitRPG Authors Guild, you will know when there's a new video when you see that I post it there. But yeah, I'm going to cover everything. I'm going to cover everything from before you start writing. I'm going to cover the some controversial subjects that a lot of people probably don't want to talk about or are afraid to talk about, and I'm going to cover marketing, and I'm going to try to do some case studies too. When I do case studies, I probably am not going to have like a video over where you can see my face, because I usually don't wear makeup or anything like that, and if I'm doing something that that I want to show you guys, I just want to get it done, so I'm probably just going to like do a screen capture of what I'm doing so you can see and follow along. So let's see, why you should listen to me. So this is something I'm going to cover more in the next video as well. I'm actually going to try to keep these videos shorter than this one. This one's kind of long just because I'm very talky right now, but generally I want them to be shorter than this. But I just told you my figures for the year. So if you are making more, I currently have a 4-book series. The last book came out, I think, like 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. If you have the same length series as I have, and you have made more than $50,000 this year on your series, don't listen to me. You should probably be giving me tips. You probably know more about writing in this genre or promoting in this genre than I do. So as a general rule of thumb, you only want to take advice from somebody who is doing better than you. If you've heard the term blind leading the blind, you can see it a lot in public forums where a bunch of new people will get together and give each other advice and stuff, and sometimes it's bad advice. So, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm going to give anybody bad advice, but, you know, I've only been in this genre for a year. I'm working on what I know and what I've done and what I have tested. So what I have tested this far has got me, like I said, just under $50,000. If you've been doing this for a year and you're making more than that, you probably know how to market better than I do. So I would not advise taking my advice, I suppose. But if you are making less than that and you want to figure out how to get to where I'm at, but by all means listen. I will give you the best advice that I know how to give you. I've never tried to lead people astray. I'm very genuine and approachable, and I'm not saying this to sell myself on it, but yeah. So I really am just out to help people. But anyway, so I just wanted to introduce myself, to let you guys know a little bit about me, and to let you know what to expect, and hopefully you'll be able to glean some good information from these videos. And yeah, so I'll see you in the next one.